Welcome, my 199 subscribers, everyone who hasn't given up on AEW yet, and those of you who thinks the card was improved. It's more star-studded, but last week's card was just, before the whole incident happened, was just a lot more interesting story-wise. And that's pretty much the reason I, was so excited to tune in. And I was so disappointed when the Mask vs. Career match was called off. That match had some important real life implications that I was all in for. Oh my god, we were finally gonna know if Andrade was gonna stay or was he gonna go. We have this new faction in the WWE that I think is pretty much Ingo Bernables. They're in suits. They're from that part of the world. Would be a nice fit for Andrade. But I guess either way we found out what's gonna happen with him, but in a less exciting way. I would have rather had the match. If he was gonna leave, I would rather have Cody Vance been put over by him. Instead, we just ignore that. The Dark Order get a title shot, although it does connect back to Ingo Bernables. And we have Rush taking another loss. So yeah, for me this is a very Ingo Bernables centered show, but I don't even know if there's gonna be an Ingo Bernables after this. Which is a fucking shame, but so it goes. So yeah, welcome to my review of AEW Rampage for the October 7th show. Let us begin. Okay, so we start off the night with the trios match. We have two trios matches tonight. The first one is between the Blackpool Combat Club, so members John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta, against La Facción Ingo Bernables, which does not feel like La Facción. For me, La Facción is just Rush and Andrade. The two teams who are like satellite members are not members of La Facción. Let's be real here. So this felt more like Private Party and Rush. I like the trio. They work very well. They work very well at having poor chemistry, kayfabe wise, because they have a bit of trouble working together. But yeah, who knows what's gonna happen with this faction? It looks like things are gonna go out the door. It looks like Rush is gonna move on to singles. And Andrade is going to go back to the WWE, but what a wasted opportunity this faction is. I was so excited for this, but there's just not enough time to feature all of these teams. This is why I think Rampage should be 2 hours, but I don't think the viewership it draws, or the ratings, justifies it being that long. But yeah, now to talk about the match itself. So this match had a nice mix of awesome spots and some nice storytelling to back it up. The most impressive performer, of course, is Claudio. When is he not the best performer in anything? He always brings it. He's the most impressive guy to watch all the time. Just the way he moves in the ring. And all of the feats of strength that he does. Yeah, Claudio's insane. And here he does some pretty cool shit. For the other team, Private Party aren't the most strongly portrayed. They sort of let the team down, but I can't blame them with the way Rush and Jose treat them. We get a story of dysfunction in the team. We get some miscommunication. We have a fight almost break out. And there's this one part where Jose throws water on Isaiah Cassidy. And the crowd just made fucking noise for this. It was pretty depressing watching them get just abused by these two guys who aren't even the fucking leaders. And yeah, as for Rush, he's the best member of his team. He carries the shit out of them. But they're just outclassed and outgunned by their opponents. And personal skill is just gonna take you so far. Blackpool Combat Club literally have 2 world champion level players. Mox is the current AEW champion. Claudio is the former ROH champion. And Wheeler Yuta is an up-and-comer and is a former champion as well. In real life and in kayfabe, they had no chance. But Private Party were responsible for some of the best spots of the match. They're very show stealer. Like a spot where Isaiah Cassidy goes for an outside dive, while Mark Quinn goes for a 450 splash to the other side. Wheeler Yuta had a decent amount of offense. Surprisingly, he wasn't the one getting beaten up the most, but he was also in the ring the least in his team. While Jon Moxley, surprisingly, was the one to take most of the beating for his team. Roosh goes after him, but they sort of cancel each other out. I don't even think Claudio touched Roosh at all, vice versa, or like Wheeler. But yeah, the match was very fun. Roosh went for his cable spots, his like extension cord spot, and it made sense here because there are like 3 people there to distract the ref. But you have to stop this shit. Just like focus in ring. Roosh is good enough to do that. So yeah, for the spots of the match, I'm just gonna talk about it here before the finish. So yeah, the spots of the match, number 3 is the outside dive, outside 450 by Private Party. Would have been better if it happened at the same time, but it's still very impressive. Number 2 is the double giant swing, with one guy on Claudio's shoulders and the other in the giant swing. But this started out awkwardly, and Claudio had to like struggle in order to do it. So yeah, could have been better. And as for the number 1 spot of the match, it's the uppercut. The uppercut that just destroys Isaiah Cassidy. Claudio catches the silly string. He delivers a European uppercut after a transition, and then Isaiah Cassidy just sells the shit out of the uppercut. He does like a spin in the air and then ends up in a position in like the perfect pinning position, ass up and all. And then as for the finish, Wheeler goes for like an arm sort of suplex or like just a slam. He goes for an underhook and then a slam, followed by a bicep slice for the submission win. Finally, Wheeler has a new finisher. So yeah, BCC win. Claudio and Wheeler play with high fives, and we don't get a follow-up with Ingobernables yet. Maybe next week. Hopefully with Andrade there. Match is a TV main event pay-per-view undercard match. So after this is a short like hybrid highlight and promo package with Preston Vance, and he doesn't sound very good at the promo, especially with the mask on. Can't wait for him to take the mask off. There's so much potential there, and they need to start pushing the guy, or like at least making him known to everyone. But yeah, this was like quick and not very good. Worst segment of the night, and I haven't seen the other segments yet, so yeah. After this is a quick squash match by Tony Nese and Josh Woods against the Varsity Blondes. Blondes get a couple of like hits in, but eventually Nese and Woods take them out. The match was not important. The post-match segment was. Because after they get squashed, we get a shot of Arn Anderson looking disappointed. So it looks like Arn's gonna be their manager or something. But the post-match segment makes it clear that the Varsity Blondes name is gonna be dead. Varsity is gonna be like taken up by this new team of Josh Woods and Tony Nese. So they're gonna be the Varsity... What the fuck are they going to be called again? The Varsity Athletes? That's worse. That's a shittier name. Why would you want to have this name? This isn't going to get you over. Or like anything with varsity on it. Just look at the Blondes. So yeah, Mark Sterling, always good. Delivers this in a really funny way. But the implications for this. In Ric Flair's last match, Pillman Jr. has been teaming up with Brock Anderson. And it's been known from the Dupree podcast that Pillman has been trying to like form this second generation faction, like a sort of new horseman group, but was like denied. So I think they're finally coming around to the idea. And maybe Pillman's gonna team up with Brock Anderson. I don't know about other second generation dudes though, because I think they're the only 2. Maybe bring in Tessa, Rachel Ellering, or like who else? Just do something with Brian Pillman Jr. The hype for him like 3 years ago was so much, and now he's just like a job guy. What the fuck is wrong with this shit? He was one of the most promising stars to come in. I thought he was gonna be like a champion by now, but no, they're not doing shit with him, and I can't even like blame him if he wants to leave. But yeah, thankfully it looks like things are turning around, and we'll find out probably on Rampage, and it's gonna get me to watch. God damn it. But Rampage has been good for like 2 weeks now, straight. So I'm okay with it. So yeah, after Mark Sterling's tirade, after his explanation, the Acclaim show up. Max Caster does a better rap than he does on Dynamite. They scare off the varsity athletes, and they scissor. I guess this is their first feud then. I'm alright with this. Matches, TV undercard only, of course. So yeah, after this is like an Eddie Kingston promo that doesn't lead anywhere. He's just bitter about like the general treatment of him after that terrible ending of his match against Sammy. Eddie's sort of in limbo, and this promo shows it. I don't know who he's feuding with. Might be just to have him on TV. But this is still a better segment than the one a while ago with 10. So yeah, after this is the match between Tay JAS versus Madison Rain and Sky Blue. So the crowd was pretty quiet here, and I can understand why. This match did not much for me. Madison Rain and Sky Blue are just like pretty vanilla for now. Madison Rain is like the veteran, and I've seen her hyped up by Impact fans, but she's just alright. She's like alright. She does her moves okay, the striking is okay, nothing bad to say here, but nothing very good too. As for Sky Blue, I found her more entertaining to watch, but still pretty green. She does take the beating pretty well, and she does some nice high-flying moves, like a crossbody. I think that's the only one. Remind me if I'm wrong. But yeah, nothing much interesting happens here. And as for Tay Mello and Anna Jay, they remind me of the Iconics. Yeah, they remind me of the Iconics and what Divas Wrestling used to be, especially for Anna Jay. Ty is so much better in the ring, but I think the gimmick suits it more. Anna Jay kind of moves like a diva. Still, but getting better. And it's definitely the gimmick carrying her through this. And yeah, there's only one spot of the match, and it's when Anna Jay just holds Sky Blue in place to be kneed by Ty. It's followed up right away with the Queen Slayer for the win. Anna Jay wins by tap out. They're not the Iconics yet, but we'll see what happens. It is starting out pretty promising though. Maybe they just need better opponents. They're like in another world compared to the women in the TBS and Women's Championships. So yeah, this match is TV undercard only. Rampage is turning out to be like this pretty much all wrestling show. We've had 2 short segments. Good matches on the end and then pretty meh matches in the middle. And with like 30 minutes left, about 28 minutes left on the clock, we get the Mark Henry interview before the main event of every Rampage. And this one is a bit more played down because they show respect to Brody Lee. They mention that he's the reason why they're all signed. And then Death Triangle, thankfully, don't disrespect the shit out of him, but maybe some Randy Orton, Eddie Guerrero treatment would be nice. But that's not gonna, this is a different time. That's not gonna happen these days. There was a time where you could, just shit on the dead. But yeah, not in today's climate. Dark Order's comeback was pretty toothless, so yeah. Looks like there's been enough talk. It's time for the main event! Okay, so again, before the main event, right after the Mark Henry interview, we have one promo segment, and it's poorly placed as usual. And this time it's about Swerve Strickland and Billy Gunn, and it hypes up their match. I don't know if, this is the best segment of the show, and it's not really that high as well. It's pretty average. You know what? A bit above average because of the content. Time comes for us all, and I'm time. I like the content of what Swerve is saying, as well as his delivery. But this was just too short, and we don't get a retort. So yeah. So finally, for the main event, we have the Dark Order with 10, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds against Death Triangle with Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta El Zero Miedo. Or is it Penta Oscuro this time? I forgot. But yeah, this is the match, one of the 2 matches that replaced the Andrade versus 10 one. 10's in a title match now. It's Brody Lee's anniversary. And I expected Dark Order to win. It's just how AEW feels like they do things. But I'm pleasantly surprised. It's kinda too early for that. And spoilers, Death Triangle win. But something interesting happens at the end, and I'm gonna get to that later. But for the actual match, it's paced like a main event. They don't go balls to the walls right away, just like when Dark Order faced the Elite. But yeah, this time it's with 10. You don't have the benefit of having Adam Page in your team to like boost up the quality of the match. But yeah, they start the match with like a brawl in the ring. It becomes a 1v1, of course. It starts pretty slow. And then we have fucking commentary just stealing the show. They talk about kicks. They talk about Antonio Inoki's kicks. How they shortened Muhammad Ali's career. And then they move on to talking about palm strikes. And how Jushin Liger brought it to America. Some nice history lessons. Some nice, nice to know information. That's basically what I can say. But what puts it over the top is that Jericho acknowledges this. He goes back to the thing about the 130 countries and puts commentary over. Jericho has a future in commentary after he retires. Or even before. He's actually really good in commentary now. But yeah, when they come back from break, apparently this all happened from break, so you can only watch this through Fight. I'm sorry, American fans. But yeah, we get the spot that I hate. It's the one where Alex Reynolds powerbombs John Silver. Rey Fenix usually does this. The last one I remember is the one with Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews. And I can't take this seriously at all. It's like the one guy powerbombs his teammate because Fenix kicks the legs, and yeah, it's a bad spot. And since the start of the match, the crowd has been quiet. So it's 7 minutes of quiet. They tried spots where it's designed to get the crowd in the match, like where one Lucha Brother takes out all the members of the Dark Order, but it doesn't work. And it didn't work for me as well. They only managed to get the crowd into the match when they did a triple dropkick and actually called for a cheer. And I think that's the problem with this match. They call for cheers a lot, and plus I don't like the structure. We're 12 minutes in and they're still wrestling slow. They isolate Alex Reynolds, they cut the ring in half, but we're 12 minutes in a 20-minute match. Shit should be shifting gear already. The crowd was quiet and it's 1 a.m. where I'm watching from. I've got hospital duty at 6 and they still haven't picked the match up. It's still super slow. And the match involves the Dark Order, especially Alex Reynolds and John Silver, plus Death Triangle. We know what they're capable of. And it's trios, anyway. It's like a title built for show stealers, and they don't go for one here. The crowd in the match does start to pick up when Alex Reynolds hot tags 10. But very big mistake. This is the guy you're trying to feature. And the hot tag isn't that hot, since 10 gets shut down right away. And this is the biggest dude in the entire match. He's the guy who's probably gonna join Ingobernables, but he goes for basic shit and then he gets shut down. And then finally the match picks up so very late when there's about 3 minutes left, 3 to 4, when Johnny Hungy gets tagged in. This is the best part of the match so far, but I think it's a bit too late to affect the overall score. The match had an undeserving 20-minute length, maybe 15 would have been enough. If this happened earlier, the crowd would have been hotter, but it didn't. But it was still fun if you take it into a vacuum. But yeah, Hungy takes Pac and Rey Fenix out. They go for the pendulum bomb. It's a bit of a struggle, but then they hit it anyway. This whole sequence is pretty cool because there's a struggle there. Fenix first escapes. He knocks Hungy off of the apron, and then he manages to get himself caught because he does this thing, his cutter thing that he does, and then they catch him in that position. Perfect time and place for a pendulum bomb. And this is all good and well. They also go for an avalanche hurricanrana, but we get some boneheaded in-ring presence by 10, because after 10 gets hit with a sling blade, he sort of rolls out of the way. He gets up in a standing position and obviously waits for Penta and Silver to like finish their sequence. And after standing up like perfectly, he just chooses to fall down and then stays down. This is so fucking dumb. 10 could have rolled out of the ring. This guy needs more reps. I mean, he's not ready to be like a singles dude yet. Maybe like just Ingobernable's muscle or something, because this was like a terrible performance from 10. That's not fair. Below average to average. He doesn't deserve like the 10 chant. It's a Ty Dillinger Sean Spears thing. It stung every time the crowd went 10 for 10. And then they managed to get a near fall after 10 delivers like the discus lariat of Brody Lee, of course. This gets the crowd to chant, "This is awesome, but is it really?" And then we have the finish that, you know what, I really liked. It's doing a refresh on the Death Triangle after feuding with them for a long time, so this kind of feels weird. Like literally, they just had a feud a few months ago where Andrade and Rush took off their masks a lot, and now they're about to team up with each other. But like, if you forget that, again, in a vacuum, this finish was awesome. Because Rush hands the hammer to Pac, he uses it to take out Alex Reynolds. Reynolds is out at this point. Phoenix takes out the two other members of the Dark Order with a pretty sick looking outside dive. Penta tags in Pac. Pac goes for the Brutalizer for the win. He puts it on like a knocked out Alex Reynolds, and he just wins right away. So yeah, I only have 2 spots of the match, and it's the finish and the pendulum slam something, the pendulum bomb. So we get no follow-up, show ends like this, very abruptly, and we move on to the second hour for Battle of the Belts, which I'm going to do another video on. So yeah, this was a really average run-of-the-mill Rampage. Best match was first match, of course, with the Blackpool Combat Club. Women's match was the worst, and the main event was too long and was very disappointing. They should have just went for a 15-minute show stealer. And there was basically just 3 segments in this entire show, because you dedicated 20 for the main event that sucked. A positive, though, was getting rid of the Varsity Blondes. They're setting up a new faction, so I guess that's something to look forward to. But yeah, Rampage this week doesn't really entice you to watch next week's show. This actually doesn't entice me to watch Battle of the Belts. And I think I should have just reviewed that show instead of this one. But yeah, I'm going to review Battle of the Belts. I'm going to try to review Impact Bound for Glory. And maybe the Tokyo Joshi Pro show, we'll see. And I'm definitely going to review Get Alive 2022. It's the show by DDT. That looks like it has a very thin card. Just great. But main event has Harimau against Damnation, so I guess that's something to look forward to. I'm gonna have to struggle through the whole rest of the show first. But yeah, that's it for this show. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you don't know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos, and please, watch my shit.